So one of the systems I came up with during the pilot scheme was the ABC risk system for social tenants. And I fathomed out quite early on in the pilot scheme as to why I thought maybe local housing allowance or welfare claiming tenants in the private sector tend to get such a bad reputation, and they, landlords are always, it's quite well known that, not a lot of landlords actively choose to work in this marketplace, and those that don't and those that do have encountered lots and lots and lots of issues with these types of tenants. So one of the reasons I think we have problems is we have very little in terms of best practice guidance, which is why I'm putting these types of videos together so that we can all kind of work in the same kind of way, and hopefully we can create best practice guidance and we can improve upon it and we can share it, and hopefully we can increase the standards within this marketplace and reduce the stress for the stakeholders within the marketplace. But one of the reasons I think that lots of landlords have issues in this marketplace is because they are picking tenants which I would put in a category which I would discount. So let's go through this, and I have tenant categories, as I mentioned, A, B, C, and this stands for low, medium and high risk. So I'm going to go through. I've got category A. So category A is it's kind of your standard LHA tenant, really. It's an individual who's probably mentally well. They are just fallen on hard times. Maybe they lost a job or got evicted. They got some rent arrears. They might be sofa surfing. Maybe they fell out with their parents or split up with a girlfriend. So they're on okay. They may be just going through a bit of a rough time, but all the signs are things are going to pick up and they're going to end up back on their feet quite quickly. So that's your category A tenant. Your category B tenant are those who have slipped a little bit further down, and they may have spent a little bit of time in shelters or B&B type accommodation. They may have spent a tiny bit of time sleeping rough, and they may be encountering some social issues, maybe some mental health issues. So it's just a little further down from where a category A would be. A category C is a person who is perhaps a chronic rough sleeper. So they've been sleeping rough for an extended period of time and they need an enhanced level of support. So not just a little bit of support and a little bit of guidance and signposting. A category C person might need, some real close-knit support around them. They might need a support worker to go in once a week. They might need to see a psychologist on a regular basis. They might have a social worker that checks in on them. They may have mental health issues, or they may not. They may be an asylum seeker, a refugee, and are unable to speak fluent English. So it's somebody who needs more support much more support than the norm. So when we look at these category A, B and C, you can see from the category A that is generally the type of tenant that a landlord who is letting to welfare claimants would probably let to, a category A. So that's the person who is in pretty good nick. They've just had a bit of a rough few months maybe. They need to get back on their feet quite quickly, and they want to just get into some property, get on their feet and probably get into some work soon. They're your typical LHA tenants, and for me this is why the LHA strategy always goes wrong, because category A tenants for me are the highest risk tenants of all. Category A tenants are tenants which generally are very independent. They generally will want to go into work quite quickly, or they will be forced to go into work quite quickly via the benefit regulations of JSA and having to come off benefits. If you're fit and well and healthy enough to work, then you should be working. And so these tenants generally are going into work quickly. Sometimes they're going into 0-hour contracts. They change circumstances all the time, and if you don't inform the council, the housing benefit department, of the circumstances the circumstantial change, then you are going to end up with disparities in your claim of housing benefit. So this means you may have a tenant who comes to you on job seekers allowance, moves in, everything's great. 3 months later, you get a letter off the council saying that your tenant's been working and the claim's being stopped. You're like, what's going on? Turns out the tenant's been working, but they forgot to inform you of this, and they've now earned some money. So job seekers allowance wants to reclaw this. Housing benefit wants to take this money back now, and they want to recalculate the claim, and it gets so complicated. And I have seen and actually worked on cases where landlords have had tenants running up arrears of over £2,000-3,000 because they've jumped in and out of work. They've been on 0-hour contracts. It's taken the council a long time to catch up and recalculate claims because there's so much frequency in the change of circumstances. So generally, category A, who on appearance probably look like the most attractive category of tenant to choose from on the surface of it, are actually, for me, the worst category of all to choose from. And I try to work with a mixture of category B and C tenants. So I may throw a category A in there if I feel that they're really motivated, they're going to get into work very quickly, and they're probably going to stay in their job. I may put category A in there, and that will raise the vibration of the house and bring some good energy into the house and be a good influence on the other occupants. But generally, I'm going to work with category B and C tenants, and that is your low, medium, and high risk tenants. Now, I like to blend my tenants, and I've talked about this a little bit previously in a previous element of the course where we looked at the pilot scheme tenants, and we looked at in the pilot scheme putting people into property which was bracketed almost by social need, and that was just the way we fathomed through it at the time. We did it ad hoc as we went along, so we ended up with say properties that contained males over 35 only, females under 25 only, males who had been rough sleeping only. Excuse me. So we ended up with lots of different properties and different groups of people in each property. And then we started to look at uncategorized, and we mixed these people a little bit, and we never mixed the sexes. That's important to know. But when we mixed ages and abilities and level of need, we had some really great results with that. And that is a model that I really like, and it's a model that I promote with social property investment as a best practice technique, is to use a blend and try not to have too many high needs people all in one unit. So if you have 3 people who are all alcoholics, that's maybe a bit of a nightmare. If you have 1 person who is trying to come off drink and you have 3 people who are sober, that can work very well. If you have 2 ladies who are on work programs and 2 younger ladies come in who have come from the streets, they can sometimes bring that up a little bit. As I say, work with your partner agencies and get them to assess the needs of the individuals with you. Take guidance with that, and make sure that you're putting in a blend of people that you think will complement each other. So something I like to think of in social property investment is building, it's almost passing the baton. So it's saying, you come to us from a cardboard box, and we're going to help you, and we're going to mold you, and we're going to get all the support in, and we're going to get you back on your feet and get you doing well, get you feeling good. And then when we've done that, what we want you to do is we want you to use that and do that with the next person that comes into this house. And we want you to do that for a few reasons. One of the reasons is you are going to be a great person now to guide somebody through this difficult transitional period. you have amazing skills and resilience and determination, and you've just done it. So you're a role model and you can become a mentor and a peer. And this is really important part, as I say, of the model of social property investment, so that it keeps being. It's a model which flows and it repeats and it happens again and again. And we get our occupants to build themselves up, and then we get them to lift others up too. And in the process of the others learning these skills, then they're going to start lifting the next person up, and so on and so on and so on. And we want this to be a continual cycle. And that's why I take great care to look at who's living with who's going to get on with who. One really nice example that I have of this is where I'd put two ladies together who had had family breakdowns, and they both had a really rough time, and they didn't really have much connection with friends and family at that point. And we put them together quite randomly, and they ended up being such a great support with each other, and they became really great friends, and they support each other through all of the different aspects of rehabilitation and life. And they've been friends for a good few years now, and now they're going through work programs together, and they've both ended up with jobs and doing really great things. So it just goes to show that when you put the right blend of tenants together, that can work really well. And now we can look at, if these two tenants have done very well helping each other, how well could they do if we put perhaps a slightly younger female who's maybe a little bit more vulnerable in there, and these ladies are already so inspired, and they're feeling great because they've moved on so well in life. They can pass some of these skills and some of this knowledge on to almost to the next generation, and keep that flowing. So always look at who you're putting with who, and try and make really nice blends together. And social property investment, remember, social aspect of social property investment, it's about building housing solutions which are sociable, which have a community environment, which have a loving and a warm feel to them. And that really comes from selecting the right kind of occupants, not just for you, but for the household as a whole. So stay with us for the next part. I hope you've enjoyed our totally tenanted module.